Hey, welcome to Bitwise Vids. I'm your host, Dr. Nate, and in this series we explore and learn how intelligent software tools and business processes are shifting how we design, build, secure, and maintain the power grid. In a previous episode, we looked at the challenges of GIS in the power industry. Today, we wanted to take a little bit deeper of a dive and look at the role of GIS in the power industry. So a little bit different of scope, it's kind of the same idea as far as looking at how geographic information systems are used, their benefits, and even I wanted to set up today's video with looking at old school, new school, and then near term, future school, right? So a variety of different ways that this information can be rendered. You know, as I mentioned in a previous video, we have squares, circles, actual icons, lines representing the conductors. There's even some GIS solutions out there, pretty advanced, including one of our very own that can even render 3D assets and even have those assets clickable. So let's look at kind of how this evolved and this evolution over time, where we have old school. Old school being basically we just have some attributes. We have the attributes of the data, so attributes where the data is just being stored. So these are some properties about it. This could be the type of pole material, wood, concrete, when was it installed, just any type of specific attributes. And the way that this data could be represented, right? We can have data represented in a simple spreadsheet, or it could be represented actually on a map, right? So I know the purist will probably say, well, if it's a spreadsheet, that's not a GIS system. But it's kind of, the spreadsheet has the lat long, and this is kind of how it evolved right over time. And then, this is map with actual clickable assets that just basically just show the attributes, and that is it. We mentioned in a previous video where sometimes there's actually like a gatekeeper in this, some of the old school kind of implementation. So I did just want to go ahead and state that one more time here in this video. And we also have, the challenges of getting access. So people just can't access this data because it's behind some gatekeeper. This is typically that old school, right? One source of truth, nobody can touch it, has to go through some gatekeeper, and it's very, very, very limiting. And then let's look at new school. This is actually kind of how we design. We strive to design our GIS solution called PowerView, and it is more than just attributes. So a lot more than just, attributes where you click and kind of see it in some properties menu. And I want to go through several examples of how it's more. There are some GIS solutions out there where you can't post any pictures to the asset, believe it or not. So we look at images, right? We actually have images that you can attach to assets. Documentation. So let's say that there's a manual for that piece of equipment. Typically, you may have to put that, if you're looking at some kind of old school implementation of GIS, you would have to put that on some file server. The people in the field may not have access to it. Or in some cases, you just rely on the old, actual printout copies of it. The people, while they're in the office, have to lay it on a table, take a picture of it, bring it out to the field. Well, that's only good for that one person versus, kind of scanning it in and then having it attached to the asset. So, there's a lot of brownfield assets out there that, it's very beneficial to be able to roll up on the site, click that asset that you're inspecting or doing work on, and being able to pull up all of its associated documentation. That's another example of what we call new school. Statuses, the ability to actually have statuses, and you may think visual representation of statuses like with a map could imply SCADA, right? Is the breaker open or is the breaker closed? That's actually not what we're talking about here when we say statuses in GIS. You can use statuses for a variety of different use cases, including inspection, restoration. Has the pole been replaced? Has it not been replaced? Have we done an inspection on this transformer? Have we not? Thinking of a variety of substation use cases. Has the substation been inspected? Are we installing a new bay in the substation? Well, let's track the statuses of that installation. Has the equipment arrived? Right? So now a modern GIS system can have color visualization and filtering and reporting, all based on these statuses. It's very, very powerful. And then we keep on cruising. Statuses, we have forms, the ability to have forms that are custom to an asset type. You know, the old school GIS systems are just these attributes. Whereas here, the new school, we're able to have forms, inspection forms that are very customizable. You click on the asset, you can see the form that you need to fill out associated with that asset. Just boom, 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 rocking and rolling very, very quick. Task, having tasks associated with the asset. And then of course with tasks, you can do scheduling, right? So you can say, well, who is that a task assigned to? So all of this is representing kind of that new school GIS. And then, you know, we can keep on cruising, field access. So everything from any type of mobile application, any type of offline, making it very, very, very user-friendly in the field. They don't have to jump through 1,000 different menus. This is that new school GIS, and it's very, very important because, I mean, the guys in the field are running and gunning, you know, 1,000 miles an hour. They got to be able to keep the lights on and do their job as efficiently as possible. Notifications. So any type of notification being able to be sent or received via a GIS solution, very important. So new school, as well as logic. You know, that ability to implement some kind of conditional logic within the tool. If this, then do this, right? Trending of data. So let's say we are collecting the data from these inspection forms and we want to trend it, we want to graph it, we want to plot it. Well, that's what we're considering new school, being able to do that. We also look at understanding, you know, industry CAD solutions, right? So, you know, a lot of the engineers put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into designing these systems, so CAD, computer-aided design, where a GIS tool that's capable of understanding those CAD solutions and that being a mechanism of importing the asset information. Very valuable, ease of use, you know, from a time consuming about how do you get the data into the GIS system or even make an update. And then digesting data. Is there an API, right? Where if another system, machine to machine, was wanting to send data to the GIS system, can it do that, right? So digesting data via an API. All right. So now let's look at near-term, really, you know, future school, where it is in fact all of this plus some additional capabilities, where we look at overlaying some operational type of data. And you know, some GIS solutions do this now, where they take the GIS, the actual GIS system, and then they overlay something on top of that, like operational. But it's still really decoupled. You know, if you make an update on one spot, the old school GIS, it didn't automatically go, let's say, to the operational overlay. But basically, where the GIS and grid operations kind of work closely together, right? Where your grid operations relies on that data in GIS and vice versa. And there's a variety of different examples of this, you know, ADMS, you got OMS or outage management systems, any type of planning, so system planning or modeling is another example of this. And you can even get all the way very, very specific to what's called FLISR, fault location isolation system restoration, where basically to do that properly, you know, it needing to reflect the data or the system, the circuits as they could exist over in the GIS system. And then of course, you know, future as well, we got some weather overlays. So being able to look at your assets with the weather on top of it, very, very powerful use cases, everything from wind to rain, precipitation, not only, you know, what is now, but what is in the future, as well as even what's historical for you to be able to trend. And then, you know, looking at kind of combining all this information where you can perform, not to use the buzzword, but use the buzzword, where you use artificial intelligence to analyze this data, to analyze, weather, and you can say, okay, we need to generate some notification. We need to generate some alert to basically investigate or remove some assets because they are starting to appear problematic. So there's a lot of use cases with kind of even tacking on artificial intelligence with GIS. That is, in honest opinion, some of the near-term future school state of GIS. So hope you enjoy this video. We'll actually be diving into some more of these in a future video. So thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.